Okay, welcome back to our third session. So we will start this with another application description presented by Vincent on the Knowledge Collaboratory.
Yeah.
Please.
So this was a website that was published in the past, built in the past, that is not maintained anymore, but I thought it was a nice demo of one of the applications that can be done with a nano publication. And the goal was to annotate text and then publish those annotations as nanopubs. You know, classic, like in the text, you have an entity here and the entity links to this URI. And what it introduced was, like, according to me, cool visualization of the nanopub as a network using Cytoscape.js, which also then can be reused for most nanopubs and allow to really visualize it in a graph way that is nice. It was also one of the first time we started to store private keys behind OrcID authentication that is now fully integrated to the NanoDash and helps setting up this thing. So yeah, it's quite a basic system where you just search for nano publications and you can display the nano publication relief. This is also a reusable component from Nanopub.js. So that's kind of thing can be really easily integrated in your own website for displaying a nano publication. And you have also the graph here. That will depends. Let's take a graph from Barbara actually, because I can search for Barbara. Oh, is it you, Magdalena? Yeah. Search. And so it takes a little bit of time to download the nano publications. And maybe also there's something, maybe it's a bit broken, something. Something is going on when it's trying to retrieve. With the default search, it works. But it's not maintained anymore. So there is something. But yeah, it's cool because then, well, here the provenance is really easy, but you can see a bit more like the graph in a network visualization. So yep, this is it. Yeah, that can be nice for, and this is kind of now it's part of the Nanopub. Yes. There's the in Nanopub display, and there's also the Cytoscape configuration. So basically it will you still need to install Cytoscape on the side, but it will give you the right configuration so that the network looks good, because most of the time it's configuring the network is actually the hardest part. Otherwise you have all nodes superposing or thing. Yeah. That's it. Not with this by default. No, not by default. Where is? No, yeah, this one. So for now, it's really because since most applications were not really big, this was not necessary. This could be done. I mean, you would need to just on the JavaScript side to write a way to hide nodes or not with adding an iteration, but then it's a bit of Cytoscape wizardry. Yeah, no, what I did though was in this one, but also normally, yeah, I'm wondering if it works better on there. Yeah, here on when you use the Nanopub.js thing, you can choose, for example, here we don't display all prefixes, just the first one. We don't display the head graph because it's always the same. Even pubinfo, for example, I think you could remove it in a lot of cases by default, because the only things that are really interesting for most humans is the assertion and the provenance. But yeah, you could think something also like this with the GS, the Cytoscape part. And yeah. So yeah, this is it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Questions?
Like more complete things like on that page.
This one? What do you mean by
How can I search for some? Should I click on one?
So it's like right now it just retrieved the latest one. Normally you should be able to search. Let's say you search something like COVID, but like I said, oh yeah, okay, this one it worked. We have a lot of things from FIP Wizard. Normally, yeah, then basically, so the thing is, it's first it will search, it will just get the URI of each nanopubs. And then for each nanopub, it will download them because I don't think with one Sparkle query, you cannot get maybe it could be interesting at some point. I don't know if you have this now, like a way to bulk load a list of nanopubs. Because right now I get the URI and then I hit I download them, parse and visualize.
I was thinking about at some point in the admin graph of the Nanopub 3 to also have additionally a triple with the full application in it, in a literal.
Oh yeah.
You could easily query it out because otherwise it's a bit more difficult to get it all out.
No, you can't in one Sparkle query do Sparkle.
If you have it like in the admin graph as in a single triple, then you could get it out, and there will be kind of a big query result, but still fine.
Yeah.
And it could work. But yeah, otherwise the normal way to do it now, and I guess also kind of conceptually cleaner one is get Nanopub IDs out and then it can retrieve.
Yeah, I mean, I'll basically curl and ask for trig, and then I get the trig and parse it or something. Yeah, you see of FIP wizard.
Sounds so fun.
Cool. So how easy would it be to do some sort of like this visualization for let's say all applications? I mean, not all, but just a larger set to see maybe which link to which, or just all the assertions combined, and then maybe I don't know, get them to say what even to include, right? Because many things are not connected and others are, and I don't know.
Those visualization.
Just you mentioned that, Barbara, just like today, that would be nice to somehow be able to see it as a network, but there's lots of challenges to make this user friendly.
Yeah, so no, that was not this. The thing, those type of visualization are a bit tricky because as soon as it starts to get big, it starts to get really hard to visualize anything, and you need really to be able to either hide the things that are less interesting, but how do you figure out with this one is less interesting? So yeah, for example, I can show you a project that we presented the demo, but we did this for okay, so yeah, so with graphs, like quite a large graph, it's like the graph of the classes, and yeah, sometimes it gets, so in this case, for example, we added a lot of like things to filter and everything. We don't use Cytoscape.js, we use another one that is more performant for large graph, but yeah, those things usually can get quite big quite fast and hard to, so you kind of need to build a whole user interface with filtering or or things like this. But here, this one that we found is Sigma.js is really nice actually. It's and quite performant depending on the things, but you have a lot of control over what you can do. So example here, I just show the edges of all the clicked nodes. So this way it hides over edges, and yeah. But yeah, usually it's always a bit tricky because first you take the RDF, you convert it to the format that the library is expecting, and then you need to figure out the right physics properties so that it doesn't overlap everywhere, and that you have the right distances, and that the right things are grouped together. There's a few algorithms that automate this, but usually it's never perfect, and especially if you try to have something that works for everything, there's almost never things for everything. But still, it can be nice in some use case to have a visualization like this, because then you see quickly, the link between the different objects. But yeah, as soon as it gets a bit big, I feel like with most nano publication, it's small enough that it's okay, but it gets quite, it can get quite messy quickly.
So we have visualizations for technologies chosen by the community, and to see the overlap of this would be nice with such a.
Yeah. Mm.
It is still, I think, too complex.
Yeah, and also, for example, Citoscape.js was good for those inclusion, like it's like a group of nodes. The other one that I use that is more scalable doesn't have it by default. I don't remember where. Well, I think I closed it. So yeah. This one, it doesn't have an easy way to like kind of group all of them, and they all have their own use case. Yeah, that's what's a knowledge graph looks like. Every knowledge graph should look like this. No, it's because I think it's because so when they generate the schema of this knowledge graph, you see all of those are basically a bit they all have the same predicates, because there is a parent that has those predicates, and they're all descending from this parent, so they all get all those predicates, which is always the same, like is absent, expresses, is expressed in. But this is why, like in this case, this is why we did like this. Usually it's always messy, but then up you come here and you only see every links to this one, and then you can kind of focus on this one. And if you want, you can click shift and you see then the link from this one, and you're like, oh, so you can kind of do a little bit of exploration. But yeah, this is a bit all the time tricky with those. I don't know a lot of people and tools that are doing this, because every time people are, yeah, we need it. And then when you do it, you realize that it's hard to read. And it's really, yes. So for us here, it's nice because you see a quick overview, you get a feeling of what it is in what's there. And we give a bit of filtering, but it's still quite overwhelming. Huh? Let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, the best solution that I've seen out there is WebVol, honestly. But it's smaller, kind of. But it's really well done, very well built. I think there is a guy today at this conference who improving WebVol. So that could be interesting also. WebVol. You've seen it. It's the golden web owl. Web visualize owl. WebVol. Vowel. Well, but yeah, apparently they improved some things. And in my opinion, this is probably the best solution right now for those kind of visualization. But it's
on like on vocabulary basis. It's different vocabulary.
Yeah, and it's really old centric, so it works well with all, because if you follow properly other old conventions, then they are able to hide the right things, and yeah, so.
But it shows instances, knowledge graph.
No. Yeah,
Only classes.
exactly. This is the problem with it.
It also shows the name individuals, right? If you upload it.
You could probably have some. I don't know enough about it, but
I think at some point there was no public instance available.
yeah, at some point. But when this happened, we published one, and someone else published one. People were like, "What the hell? We need it." And so right now, someone else has published something. I think you have instances also, mate. Not sure. how you would do. But yeah, so we're gonna stop hosting it. No way. we're gonna republish everyone. Like half of the semantic web redeployed it.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry for these problems, but let's continue like this. Before the lunch break, we looked into how to use Nanodash to publish in applications and a few other things. So maybe I just give a quick recap for the new participants here. I should move over to this one where I'm logged in. Here we go. So if you go to Nanodash and you find links on our tutorial website. So one thing you can look at is if you go to places, then you find down here an application tutorial. And so I'll just quickly show this again, that you have here some information that is aggregated from Nano publications. So it can be we can click on one of these. So the new participants can click on declare the participation in the Nanopub tutorial. First, you need to be logged in with ORCID, which might require a few steps. We can help you with that. But then you can declare it, and then it will show up here in this project page that shows all the information. And just to show, I can publish another message and saying starting the afternoon session of our tutorial like this.
You don't need to change them. No. So you should face none of them.
And now we have it here soon, not yet, so it takes a bit. Now it's already here. And we looked into the templates, how we can create these templates as well. And now we're going to look into how we can get this information back with views like these here. So what you see here, get participants and get messages about ESWC. These are both created from I see a new participant here. Very good. So this query here is created from a template, a query template. So you can go here to details and run it here. And this just gives you a bit more information, namely the description to it. Oh, sorry. I'll go more slowly again. So we start from this experimental page of the application tutorial. Clicked it and register.
Production. I
Yes.
think you should accept.
I still need to approve this. I'll do this afterwards. And so now we're here and we're seeing these views that show kind of some of the participants who had and some messages. And both of these are really views on the existing Nano publication. So if you click here on details, you're going to see more details about this particular view. You can here click run, that just runs it again. That's the same thing you saw before. But we can also click on this small Nanopub icon here that's called definition, and that tells us where this came from. So this query is in a Nano publication itself. And you see here, it's just a regular Sparkle query that is executed on this endpoint. And this endpoint has this URI we came across also with the lookup. So because we use these queries already for the autocomplete lookup, so there's kind of this generic or general URI of w3id org/mp/l/nanopub query 1.1. And Nanodash and other tools who know about nano applications just knows this can go to any Nanopub query of this version. So it doesn't need to be one particular one. And again, just as a quick reminder, this is the monitor. where you can see here, for example. So I can go to any of these pink instances. There are currently 4. And well, you could set up your own if you like. So this is this open network. So in that sense, it's much more reliable and stable because there's these redundant services available. Where was it before? Over here. So this is what these queries look like, and they use this garlic syntax, or they actually use garlic on the hood. I'll say a bit about this in just a second.
They say that this is actionable Nanopub application because it has also an action you can.
This is in a way an actionable nanopublication. I think you could say that. Yes. So it does.
FTOs, no, where you have operations included, or you.
In the sense of FTOs, we have operations included. Yes, I think it is definitely. You can definitely say that. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Because normally for me, a Nanopub is a machine interpretable.
Yeah.
Visual object and not a machine actionable, but this one, yes.
Yes.
Because it can do something.
That is true. Yeah. In a way, maybe even the templates are to an extent also actionable, maybe a bit lesser extent than this because they don't run without further input. But yeah.
So this one informs the Sparkle query endpoint about this Sparkle, and then it produces an output.
So.
Or is that just to inform which Sparkle query you are using? What is
This one is just defining the Spark query, which could potentially be a template of placeholders. And then Garlic, I'll have a slide on that, is the tool that can create out of this an API with, I mean, there's not too much going on there except that it knows the Sparkle query, and when it gets a request, it maps the arguments you give it with the placeholders, and it then sends it to the Sparkle endpoint and returns you the results. So yes, so maybe I'll just switch over to these. Right, so if you go to Nanopub query itself, if you follow this one URI that is showing you, that is supposed to be interpreted as that it can point to any of the Nanopub query instances. But also if I just follow any of these, let's say the first one, you see this kind of developer interface or kind of API interface for Nanopub query. And what it has is just a couple of Sparkle repositories, you could say. Right, you can go to this one, full. And then this is the URL of the endpoint that you give like your algorithms, and you can do the Yes GUI interface if you click on it. And then you have just a regular Sparkle endpoint. You can, yeah. Okay. The link.
Slides.
Okay. You find all these information if you go to nanopub.net, or you can also go to the conference website, and then you go tutorials. And then you see here our tutorial at ESWC.
and schedule material?
Yes, exactly. Schedule materials. And now here you have also the slides. And then I don't think we haven't really used the notes yet, but
Then slide.
and also in this Scala materials, there's also lots of links. For example, this one is pointing to the monitor.
Slide name.
I was already at slide number 66.
Here, and then you come here.
And then you can click on this link. And okay, so here you're now on the GitHub page, but at the very top, it also shows you the available instances. So you can click on any of these. And then we are here. And basically just shows you, links to Sparkle endpoints. So I was just showing full, but we can also go to meta. But maybe I'll show full because that's just loading everything. So that's the most useful at this point. It has kind of a default query that if you run it, it will just show you how many nanopubs there are and some basic information about the triple, like the checksum of all nanopubs. But then you can also delete that part and you just uncomment this. And then it gives you some scaffolds with which you can filter for the valid nanopublication. So what we're doing here is we have a special admin graph that stores some information that Nanopub query collects while loading nanopublications. And then and the applications, they load into their own graphs. So because they are all contained in graphs, you can just load them into the triple store. So what you do is you just check applications with a valid pub key. Only the ones with valid pub key are loaded in the first place. But then with that, you can do this filter. You can say, I only want those where it doesn't exist another application that invalidates it. This is combining retractions as well as superseding nanopublications. So anything that kind of states this is no longer the latest version you should be looking at. With the same pub key, you can filter them out. And then you can have a date that it always extracts, a label, which most applications have. And there's some more, but that's the gist. And now you can, for example, because we're in the full, we also have the no, I don't have these. We can actually query the content. The content of that graph. So for example, we can also do just subject, predicate, object, searching for it. And maybe we can restrict it, or maybe you can restrict one of these. I don't know. Can just make something up like, let's see, we have something on example org. I'll probably use that at some point. And execute it. No, I didn't. Maybe just like this. Okay, we should look up a real example. We have a nanopub here. Here I used example that somehow was different. Why is it different? I think I've never used it even. Let's take a different one. Namely, we just look at some. Oh, this is now Barbara's channel. That's fine. I'm not gonna do anything. We can just look at participated in relation. And I forgot where I was before. Do you see it? You can take Barbara. You're blocking the view of.
With my
Where was my other window? Now I lost my window.
one of the many.
Or this one, it has to be this one. Yes. So let's do differently. We say subject has this relation to object. And then we say here we want to have subject object. Maybe remove the limit. Just give me all of them. Maybe we could add the date if we wanted to. And then we get all these participation relations that have ever been published.
And most of them those in the pre-PFF events, probably.
Yes. Yeah. Probably. And maybe you want to keep the nanopub actually as well, so we could like look up more stuff, right? Something like this. So now, if we wanted to make this an API or kind of a query can reuse without remembering the query itself. But I should go to my own instance over here. So you can just copy that and go here. And this is the defining a garlic query is the one we will be doing here.
Nano-knowledge pieces.
So now we just paste it here as the query. Oops. And then up here, oh, this is wrong.
Yeah.
We can give it a short ID that's going to be used as suffix, like get participation. And we could say get participation links. This query returns all participation links. Then here we tell it which endpoint to use. And as said, so we're supposed to use this Nanopub query 11 prefix that resolves or is used to all of them. Now we're using full. You saw that there are some different options you can choose here. And the admin one is not really, that's kind of internal. You probably don't need that. Empty you can use because this is actually empty. It doesn't have any triples in it, but you can use it if you have federated queries where you federate into different other repos. So sometimes then it makes sense to have an empty one that just executes the query, but the data comes from somewhere else. The full is full. All nano applications like metadata, like this admin graph, including the full nano applications. Last 30 days is the same thing, but only covering the applications that were published the last 30 days. So if you want to do like most recent whatever, you can use this one and will most likely be faster because it doesn't have all the applications. Meta only has this admin graph. So it stores all the metadata of applications like the pub key and some other things that are loaded there, but it doesn't have the full applications. Again, this makes it more. If it's something that you can do purely on the metadata, this is will make it faster. Text is one that does full text indexing. So there's some things you can do there. It's using RDF4J and they have a Lucene plugin and some special syntax. Yeah, this I can show you how this can be done. So there's some examples that are the best starting point. But then additionally, and I'll come back to that, you have per pub key and per type. So now applications are assigned types in some strict way. For all pub keys and for all types, you have separate endpoints. So if what you want to look for is just by one pub key that you know, like the one user you want to query all of that person's nano applications, or you have a particular type, like for example, I don't know, awards. Somebody has used Wikipedia award as a class. We can actually check how many there are of these. Maybe it's just one, but it gets a separate endpoint. And then when you query, in this case, it's just one single nano application loaded to it. But so like this, you can define your own nano applications and then query them as if no other nano applications existed. But I was creating this thing here. So this is not yet very well done in terms of user interface. If you want to have another one, you basically have to paste in the suffix here yourself that, for example, has /pubkey/ and then the hash of the pub key that would then run only on the rep of the pub key. License is something that kind of Garlic requires. It doesn't really matter much here. So that's already everything. In this simple case, this is just a query. It's not even really a template because there's no placeholders. I will tag this as an example because I'm not sure it makes too much sense, but I'll show it to you. And then publish. And now I've published it. And by this, we have actually defined our own API. Because if we now, it doesn't show here yet, but if you click on the Nanopub to get to the Nanopub page, we have a run this query thing here. We can go here, then we get to this page, some of that we have seen before, and then run. And now, oh no, this is, oh yeah, it is this. It's just now showing actually a bit nicer. So because it sees that these are users, it immediately shows the username and the objects are the actual events. So like this, you have this this query, and internally it goes through Garlic that I have some more information on the next slides. Right, before we get to that, a quick explanation of how nano publications how we calculate types and labels for nanopublications. So now it's specifically about the types, because these types then define into which buckets of Sparkle endpoints these nanopublications are put. So if you have an application and in pub info you assign it to a class, then this class is considered a type. So for example, we have like this application is an example nanopublication. So this example nanopublication as a URI is seen as a type of the application, and then there is an example nanopublication endpoint in these Nanopub query instances, so you can query them separately. And it's also sufficient if you have an introduced thing. So that's a thing we talked about in the morning. In the pub info, you can say this nanopublication introduces this thing that is further described in the assertion. And if this thing has types, for example, introducing an event, and the event is then typed as Wikidata event or whatever, then this Wikidata event thing is also seen as a type. And actually, if you go to Nanodash, if you go to any Nanopub, just this one that just declares the participation in the event, you see it has this as a type. In this case, it doesn't show the label because, in this case, it wasn't able to figure it out. But this is the event participation link that is attached as a type. That's actually another rule that I haven't even mentioned here. When all the triples in a nanopublication assertion have the same predicate. For example, if there's just one triple, then this predicate is also seen as a type. So now we could actually take this. Can actually take this URI. So what was it? P1344. If we go here, we have it here somewhere. So in this endpoint here, that we could point to with this specific hash, we have all these nanopublications that have this type of participates in. So we could have, which are 38. We could have also used this endpoint, which would be more scalable and faster, because it only has to search on 38 nanopublications. Sorry? All right, yes. Yes, exactly. So if you publish something, if you publish a new nanopublication, so what is done then, well, first it's published to the registries, and the query instances, they get notified that there's a new nanopublication. They calculate what types do they have, and this is defined such that you just need to look at this one nanopublication and you can figure out what types it has. And then it looks up all the repos for these and puts them in. And if it doesn't exist yet, it makes a new one and puts it in. Yes.
Something would then be published and then updated.
If they mistype something, well, it depends on what they do. So, I mean, if you do it through Nanodash, there shouldn't be any way that it is not like syntactically valid. So yes, it will be published and will show up just mistyped. Well, if you mistype the type itself or make some mistakes, then of course it will not be typed correctly. So it will not end up in the right repo that you wanted to. In all of these cases, you can then update it and correct it. And then the old version is still there if you're specifically looking for it. But for all these queries that filter out the invalid ones, it will not show up. But yeah, so there's no kind of additional step. When you press publish, it's out there and it's directly fed into all these databases. But you have also all the information, including public key, to figure out and do quality control of whatever kind you like. It's a very long list. Other list of types, you mean yes. So that's, I mean, the two aspects of that, right? One's, I mean, it's not a list that we expect users to browse through. It's more, you should more see it as kind of a technical interface or kind of an API. And secondly, at some point, we probably have to make some more restrictions on that, I don't know, a user has to explicitly request that something is going to be indexed as a type by Nanopub query, so we don't end up doing kind of tons of repos nobody uses. So there's probably, or maybe we're smart about it, and as long as nobody accesses it, we don't even create it, and only when somebody accesses it, then we kind of create it on the fly or something like that. So yeah, there's certainly kind of potential for optimizing this. And then similarly to the labels, there's just some conventions of how we get labels out. So that is what you see when you, the things you see here right next to the nano application icon. So this part, it takes it out of the nano application if it can, and you can specify in the templates explicitly what type it should be, or otherwise it tries to figure it out. Or if that's not possible, it just uses the Nanopub hash if it cannot do anything better. Why is it not so here? I think sometimes you see some here. These are all fine. They all got a label, so you have some human readable text that you can then click on to find more about. Good, but more on the garlic part I wanted to tell you about. You can go this to garlic.io. This is Albert Meronio and others created this a while back, and it's a really kind of simple but powerful tool to turn Sparkle query templates into APIs. I haven't shown you yet the placeholders, but I will on one of the next slides. They have very simple placeholder syntax. So if you have like regular Sparkle variables, if they start with an underscore, then they're interpreted as placeholders for literals. So then in the API or in the user interface that, for example, Nadash is creating, it would be kind of a text field where you expect the user to enter a literal. If you end it additionally with underscore IRI, it's an IRI template. And if you start it with 2 underscores, it's labeled as an optional one, whereas otherwise it's mandatory. So that's pretty much it. So this is just another example of what I showed before. So you just make a query, you publish it as a Nanopub, and then you can use it, for example, through Nanodash. But then there's another example I can show. This is just the example I've just shown, where you've seen. We'll just skip one slide ahead briefly. And then when you want to see what looks with parameters, a form like this is created where you have one or several values to fill in. And no, but here I cannot follow this link. So this is what you get in Nanodash, but you can go here and click on the definition. And then you see that in this case, there's a number of placeholders in there that are still to be filled in. There's kind of a trick to make sure it's both kind of an input placeholder as well as an output argument if you add such bind statements to it. And yeah, so like this, you create an API that has parameters. You can go here to query and you see all the queries as I've shown before that have been published. And this is now a bit unordered, or it's ordered by date, but does need to be organized a bit better. You can also do full text search and other things. So what could I show you? Yeah, you can try out these. So there's also a demo link that is kind of a short version of getting through the process of creating applications and consuming them. So what you can do here, for example, get over and underrated entries. So people have stated that they find a certain thing over or underrated, and you get it back here. Huh? Sorry? Oh, sorry.
If we go back to the folder.
Okay, so hold on. If I just click query, yes. I should number these. Yeah, that I could say. So I'll tell you. So this one, Well, I'll just click that random one actually. So you can go get under or overrated queries. That's the one
Entries.
yeah, I don't know, I call it entries. So, or top overrated things you can also do. That's actually so top overrated thing is Pizza Hawaii, apparently. And that's another thing you can try out here. Actually, that's kind of a query, a kind of half serious query that just to have people try it out. What happened?
Windows.
Windows.
No, no.
No, that's fine. So you want just to click on that? No?
Yes. So you can, oh, I'm now again, Barbara. I will not publish anything. So here you can state you think something is over or underrated. So that's a great kind of query template to get started. So you say something is underrated and you get a number of possibilities here like ChatGPT, or you can just query something with Wikidata and state you find that it's over or underrated. So this just as a further example, and there is this query to it that I've just shown. And what I wanted to show you here, but it's pretty straightforward, that all these queries you can then use as API to consume from the command line or wherever you want to. So you basically just take the final part of your query, basically the hash code of your Nano application, like the part that starts with RA and then some hash / and then kind of the human readable suffix, and you prepend one of the query instances to it. Optionally, you can have here also the arguments. So if it's one that has arguments, you would have like question mark type equals and then your parameter value, and then you can get it back, for example, in CSV. I think JSON works as well. And so like this, you can very quickly produce your own custom-made API that you can use in any other tool. Yes, I think this is this part of the tutorial about queries. Is there anything any more questions or anything I should show a bit more detail?
As a user, so you can.
To run it? No, to publish it, yes. To run it, no, you should be able to do this without logging in. Yes, 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 yes.
And there's no access control. Like as a user, if I publish something there, it's published, no access control.
Yes, so there's no access control. So with respect to, I think that's published is really published in a strong sense, so that anyone globally can see it. And with respect to publishing, at the moment, there's also, well, you only need to have it digitally signed, like to have the Nanopub signature. And I'll have some more slides for the last part. At the moment, also, you can publish as many Nano publications and you can potentially flood the system. But the Nanopub registry has already partially implemented a quota system where basically depending on your approval status or however the particular registry system configured, you have a particular quota. So if you want to publish, let's say, millions of applications, you would need to convince somebody who has control over these registries and query instances to give you a large enough quota to be able to publish these large numbers. So that's how basic authenticate. Well, Nanodash itself has authentication through ORCID. So it then can basically in your name publish stuff. But the ecosystem itself that it connects to, the authentication basically all goes over these signatures and pub keys. Good. So then we are with the individual projects where you can just work on stuff on your own kind of small Nanopub project if you like. And maybe we also make kind of a small break and have and give time for that.